the most probable. Nobody under the age of 14, and even then, viewer discretion is always advised. I haven't gotten too graphic because in this story, it's not too graphic because their bodies are never discovered, unfortunately. And I think what happens is, well, we'll get into that. That's what we're going to talk about tonight with video 3. So, sit back, relax. Relax. I want you to all relax. It's late. I just got back from work, so it's the only time I have to record, and I just wanted to make sure I got a video out there for everybody. So get a drink, just turn off the lights and listen to my voice. Listen to my voice and relax. So the Springfield 3 is a horrible missing persons case that has been going on for almost 30 years, and although there has been some developments in the last 30 years, but between the twins that were the serial killer and his brother, and then we had a couple others which really they were just found to be guilty of other crimes. Most of the crimes though did have some kind of robbery in them, and what really sticks out in my mind is that the blinds had been pulled aside as if somebody were outside that either they knew or that had followed them in and had spooked them. Maybe the opening of the window, or I don't really know. But there is this man. This man is named Cox, and he is in serving time in Florida for murdering a woman down there. And he goes to he actually has an interview with this reporter in 1996. The KY3 investigative reporter Dennis Graves travels to a Texas prison to interview Robert Craig Cox. Cox, once convicted of murdering a woman in Florida, has been in Springfield. So he's now at the time of the disappearance and had been questioned by police. Cox claimed that he was home in bed alone at night. Graves extensively interviews Cox for clues. Just for one clue. The interview included the following exchange between Graves and Cox. Cox says, "I know they're all dead. I'll say that. And I know that." Graves says, "That's not a theory." Cox, I just know that they are dead. That's not my theory. I know that. There's no doubt about that. And then he refused to talk anymore. Graves' interview was subpoenaed by authorities and presented before a grand jury called on the case in 1996. The grand jury never handed down any charges. I mean, really, because that's just like me saying, I believe they are dead. I probably would put my life on it at this point. Why wouldn't any of them come back? I doubt they're being held against their will or being tortured for this long. It just doesn't make any look more suspicious, but you never really know. However, this is what happened. So in 2002, investigators went to a concrete company, also in Webster County. They told two women told police that there were men who drove a green van, which appeared to look like the one wanted by authorities in the cold case. Cadaver dogs were brought in to hit on 3 spots, and bones were recovered, but after testing it turned out to be far too old to belong to the women. Now, okay, so in April 2003, tips lead investigators to farmlands south of Kaysville. So using backhoes, they dug holes, but only managed to find 2 pieces of possible evidence, possible blood, and the section of a green vehicle, perhaps like the van witnesses say they saw back in 1992. So, investigators sent the blood evidence to a specialized lab, but after exclusive testing, results were inconclusive. Alright, well, here's the thing. So this case is 30 years old almost. In 30 years, things are going to happen to the evidence. It's not going to, unless it's just in that perfect situation where it will mummify and keep every little bit of evidence on it. The elements will take over and destroy most of any kind of evidence, physical evidence that might have been able to be pulled from the bones or the body. To find blood 30 years later, you don't. It's really, really hard, especially if it's such a small bit. It's really, really hard to get any kind of DNA profile. However, they did follow Cox, and they did get his DNA profile from his garbage that he would throw away. And it was never really conclusive. In 2007, so after speculation, the women were buried under a Cox South Hospital parking garage. A local writer hired a consulting engineer who used a ground-penetrating radar to scan the garage. The man running it said his machine picked up 3 distinct objects. Springfield police looked into the theory, but found it was not credible. They never requested that the parking lot concrete be destroyed to search under it. Now, this really kind of bothers me because it's like in some ways the police were always, they were just kind of always against anybody finding any real evidence. It just appears that way. That is completely my opinion. But I'm just, this pure speculation, so, don't take me, like I said, it just feels like that, it feels like the police were just not, really pushing for this case to be found. I don't know. In 2019, Bart Streeter, the son of Cheryl Levitt, brother of Susie, was arrested on suspicion of public intoxication, disorderly conduct, and attempted false imprisonment from unrelated incident in Tennessee. Bart was once investigated over the cold case years ago, but eventually eliminated. We talked about that a couple videos ago. But last year, former Springfield Business Journal reporter Brian Brown and his father Alan Brown published this book. This book I've been kind of, using as kind of a fun little way to explain a little different perspective. And they do bring a lot of new discovery and shed a light onto, a different perspective into the case. also was a Anne Rodriguez. Anne Rodriguez Jones launched a podcast surrounding the disappearance of this, Springfield 3. All these people have been, just trying to bring different things to light, bringing the people in, trying to engage the community. I mean, somebody had to have seen something more. It's like that guy who would go in and say, okay, I know what the guy looks like. I almost ran me over. I want to give you his description, and the police walked him right out the door. That kind of stuff really just sticks with me and just bothers me. I don't know why, these people were considered, quote, they're wonderful people, fun people, just normal people, unquote, said Stephanie Appleby, a friend of Stacy and Susie in 2017. Quote, we all carried them with us in our hearts and still pray that they come home and that we get some sort of closure, unquote. Janice McCall, though, vows never to give up, believing her daughter could still come home. I think a lot of us forget that, Stacy, Cheryl, and Susie were all together, but Cheryl and Susie were mother and daughter. But can you imagine being the mother that is the mother of Stacy and never having any kind of closure, and just thousands of leads that are almost cruel with the promise or hope given to her in some respect over the last 30 years? She says, quote, I know, until I know 100% that Stacy is deceased, I will never declare her dead, she said, unquote. They're going to have to find some remains somewhere before I call her legally dead. It's not for any reason other than if I do and she's not dead, think of how mad she'll be when she gets back, unquote. The case of 3 missing women is still listed on the Springfield Police Department website under cold cases. Investigators are still asking anyone with any information about the night 29 years ago to give them a call. Here's the thing. With Cox, he said he's not going to tell the whole story until his mother passes away. Now, do you believe that, or is that just a killer trying to get attention? I don't know. I really find it hard. Okay, here's a couple things. I really find it difficult to believe that one person subdued 3 very independent women that I find it really, really difficult to believe that they wouldn't have, sorry, Robert Craig Cox, I don't think he was, that intimidating of a human being. I don't know for sure. So I'm going to look him up really quick. He's a little, he's not enormous. I don't know, it's just so sad. Whatever it is, whoever it was, I'll tell you what, can keep a secret. Somebody has to know something. Maybe they're not alive anymore, I don't know. But this is traumatizing for so many people. I'm sure Stacy's brother, Susie's brother, I'm sure he feels terrible for getting into a fight with her that night. That would be terrible. imagine it all. So it's like I don't know. So the mother of Robert Cox, is she still alive? Apparently she is. So, I mean, he's dropped these hints for a long time about the missing girls, but I just wonder if he's really, the one, the serial killer that had recanted his statement that it was his brother driving that night. Bothers me a little bit because, why would he do that? Serial killers love attention, and just doesn't make sense that he would say out of a change of heart that his brother had nothing to do with it, that he was just saying that he must have dreamt it. So I don't know, what do you think? Yeah, I love it when you give me your thoughts on this. I don't know, for some reason my gut tells me that it was somebody who had nothing to do with the town. It was a serial killer passing through like Cox, or the other guy, or just some random person. But they would have had to have enough people. They would have had to plan it out. The dog would have had to been sedated. It's almost as if that this person knew them, but I mean, to the point of where they would be, he was like, hey, let's go get something to eat. Maybe they got into her brother's car, and then that's how they all three got out of the house like that. But the mother was sleeping there's so many ifs and or buts. It's just like, who would take these people? Who would hurt these people? Why? You're gonna kill your whole family because you had a disagreement. Maybe, Susie and Gerald's son and brother, maybe he did take them. I did, it's just sad. Bart Streeter, I guess he had an alibi, but come on, even if I don't know. I just don't think Bart did it. That was his mom. He loved his mom. I think he was upset because of the whole relationship. But these were three beautiful, beautiful women, and it's just a shame that these three have disappeared, that the remains have never been found. It really is. It really, really is. And I think in some ways, there is so many reports on, who might have done it, who might have been there, who they saw, what they did, and like the older woman seeing the green van seems to be the key. Why couldn't anybody find this green van? I don't get it. I don't. I really don't. Somebody had to, I guess, overpower these women. They would have had to know the women, maybe, or just sneak up on them. I don't think they came after they got home. I don't believe that they left the house. Maybe they were was too relaxed, ready to go to sleep. And maybe Janelle, maybe she knew something about it. I don't know the reason that her mom was so adamant about her not going to her friend's house, and this is their day of graduation. Why couldn't she sleep over me? Could have been that insulting to her relatives. Or maybe it was. I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating here, as we all do. We all want to find or mention or just kind of throw this around. It's like brainstorming, you just want to throw something around in your head till you're like, yeah, now that works. That makes more sense. Nobody's looked into that. Or, until somebody can recall something from that night. Maybe they're afraid. I don't know. But there is. If you look it up online, there is a number to call still to this day. If you have any reports on the Springfield 3, and maybe Greg Cox will shed light on the situation when his mom passes away, like he said he would. That really is it for the Springfield 3. They are still missing, as we know. They have disappeared, and it is a tragic story. Very, very, very tragic. I personally think Cox probably had a hand in it, although he's not my favorite. He just seems to know, or maybe he knows because he's been in jail. Maybe he knows because he heard through the grapevine that, the serial killer brothers, the twins, I don't know, that too has, I really feel like they had something to do with it too. It could be either one. It really could be. I just, that, it doesn't give me that rush though. That's the thing, is usually when I hit on something that I really think is right, I get this rush, and I don't have that with any of these suspects. I mean, I think that some of these suspects just want attention. I don't know, the fact that the twins, the one brother was driving makes more sense, because I really, really, really feel that there had to be more than one person. There was 3 rambunctious girls, and if it were me, my mom, and my daughter, or friend, and we were that age, let me tell you something, you're not taking us down without the entire neighborhood knowing, and the dog freaking out, and, unless they knew them. I don't know. I don't think it was the brother, though. It could have been. It very well could have been. But I do not think that. In my heart of hearts, maybe his girlfriend, maybe he is high on drugs, maybe it wasn't for robbery. So in the past, that's one of the reasons that Cheryl had kicked him out of the house, was because he was stealing from her, and he had a drug and alcohol problem. So because there was $900 in cash left there and her jewelry, that tells me it was somebody strictly there to murder them. They had to have known that they were there. They had to have followed them home from one of the parties. Maybe one of their friends that they knew say in the bushes, or she said I have to pick him up. She stops the car, lets him in, he pulls a gun, he shoots them all, and then they bury them. I don't know. I mean, that is a very plausible way, because what kills me is that the window being pulled open in Cheryl's room when she was so strict about keeping everything locked down bothers me. That the window was open, the blind was opened, because it was if you know somebody, then you're like, oh, who's here? And then you run out and you're like, hey, what's going on? That could have definitely been Janelle. Maybe she was excited that her friend decided to come over. They all got into the car and her mom had woken up, and Janelle's like, yeah, come on, we're gonna go eat. And maybe that's where that whole story was corroborated from. I don't know. But those two things bother me. It bothers me that the dog was so quiet. Terrier's not known to be quiet. The voices on, Janelle mysteriously just decides on her own to erase these messages, these sick, sexually driven messages that were so inappropriate that she felt like she had to erase them from somebody else's answering machine. I don't think that was her place to do that. And then when the mother was there, Stacy's mother was there, she had gotten a phone call, and it was an obscene phone call. Well, we'll never know what that one is about, because that was not on the answering machine. And I really just do believe that some of the evidence that could have been very viable in this case was lost due to many people being there, to too many footprints. When you have too many fingerprints, too many footprints, then we have the cadaver dogs. They pick up some, remains. They can't tell the bones, or they're too old. Well, whose bones are these? Okay, so this brings up another question. Is there a serial killer still living in Springfield? Why are there bones all over the place, and blood, and just evidence, physical evidence that never was, couldn't be really conclusively identified as anybody's? That would concern me. I don't know about you, but as an investigator, I'd be like, okay, well, we've got bones, 3 bodies here that don't belong to these girls. Who the hell do they belong to? They're never identified. Then these other bones were found, some blood and pieces of the van. Where the hell was the rest of the van? This just doesn't add up. Nothing really adds up in this story. So this case to me is convoluted and obstructed by, I believe, some law enforcement, some people that might have been connected to maybe the actual killers that had law enforcement as either parents or very close family members to help them cover the way. Believe me, it happens all the time. But to have gone on for this long is very, very odd. It's upsetting to think that if you are in a little town, and opportunity at 2 something in the morning. Did they piss somebody off when they left a party? Yeah, maybe a jealous girl. I don't know. That is very plausible too. I mean, somebody they knew could have gotten them out. I just find it hard to believe that one guy got all those girls out and handled the dog all by himself. Unless he was already there waiting, killed the mother first, and then killed the 2 girls later. But there was no blood at the scene. Not that they found, so maybe Janelle and her boyfriend came back and cleaned up the crime scene. I don't think that it's been looked at since, as far as like going over with luminol. I have not read that luminol was not put down. No, I mean, it said no blood, no hair, nothing, no extra fingerprints that were not out of the ordinary were found. But I also didn't read where they went through every single person and took a DNA sample that walked through that house, and it was 10-20 people that walked through the house. In other cases I have read where the police take it upon themselves to take every witness possible, take their fingerprints, take their DNA, give them a polygraph, and in this case it just didn't happen.